Well, since we didn't watch any WWE TV this week, you did bring up something to me before the show about this Vince McMahon documentary.
Oh, my friends at Vice, they're letting me down. I need to do a seminar with the Vice people on promotion because apparently they are working or have been working on a Vince McMahon documentary. And it's now we find out it's going to air on Tuesday night, December 13th, right? That's the 13th, next Tuesday. Tuesday night, December 13th at 9 o'clock Eastern, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the point is, I was bringing this up to you as we spoke briefly before we came on the air. There has never been a full-fledged documentary or even any documentary on the WWE network or anywhere else. There has not been a documentary on the life and crimes of Vince McMahon. There has not been a biography, or certainly not an autobiography. We've heard of all these projects that have been in the works now. They were going to do a Netflix series on Vince, and that, I believe, was canceled around about the time of the public exposure, so to speak, of the illegal paralegal. There's a guy named Abraham, help me with his last name again. Reisman, that is doing an unauthorized biography of a book on Vince, which, in full disclosure, I can't wait to read it because there's still things about Vince's childhood and early formative years that I don't fucking understand or haven't been able to fully grasp my head around.
And that author, Abraham Reisman, previously did the Stan Lee biography.
Well, yeah, and in full disclosure, I got an email from him if I wanted to talk to him, and I didn't, because you know what? I can't psychoanalyze Vince McMahon any better than a lot of other people that have worked with him for even longer than I did, and I just want to read this fucking book. I don't want to be in it, whether I would have been or not. But there's a book that's still going to be coming out. The Netflix multi-part series apparently was canceled. There has been another project. Which one am I not thinking about? That there
was an oral history that was being done by, I believe, Craig Marks, who did the MTV one and other ones previously, and it was one where they had company cooperation to the point where he actually got to talk to Vince several times. That's also why the company was able to specifically request, don't speak to certain people. David Schultz was named number one on that list.
Yes, but that's an oral history of the WWF. I'm talking about specific. Oh, Vince, the movie where he was doing butt things with Linda and the fucking leaked script.
Oh yeah.
Right, that was another project. But so there's been all these projects about Vince being talked about, and the first one that comes to the air is being broadcast is the one on Vice TV next Tuesday that we talked about. And unless I've been watching Tales from the Territories, maybe not live, but I'll catch it a day or two later on DVR. I haven't been watching the reruns of Dark Side of the Ring, but I have not seen a commercial. I have not seen on all the wrestling sites. You think if Vice sent pwinsider.com, here's a 1-minute trailer on this Vince McMahon documentary we're going to put it. You think they wouldn't have disseminated that to the people? All I saw was an announcement a couple of days ago that it's going to air next Tuesday. This is the first ever documentary. I don't know what it's going to look like. And I'm not saying it's going to be good or bad or indifferent, as Mama Cornette used to say. I'm saying this is the first one. And I can't believe that they didn't have a strategic plan, especially with a series, Tales from the Territories, that's been on for the past 8 weeks, that they didn't. They're putting it on in the Territories time slot, actually 9 to 11, because it's a 2-hour documentary, but they've had wrestling programming on Tuesday night for the past 2 months, and they didn't beat this up. And they didn't run a commercial in every Dark Side of the Ring repeat, because Dark Side, as they Vice themselves said, was the highest rated program they've had on their station. And even the reruns, just the acreage, just the real estate that it takes up on their station that wouldn't cost them, I don't think, a fortune to run commercials for one of their programs on their own station. And I can't believe further that they didn't say, you know what, we've got something that nobody's done before and brought to market as of this point, and we know exactly where the target audience is. So we're not only going to do some kind of minor buy with every wrestling website just to get them on board with us, give them some attention and give them these publicity materials, but they couldn't go to the top 10, 15 markets in the country and do a local cable buy on Raw or a local station buy on the Fox station on SmackDown. And because I did, and it's hard dealing with local cable companies on doing specific targeted advertising when I want these 6 30-second spots in that particular 2-hour program, or I don't want them on your station at all. They don't work that way, and they don't get that, but you can if you find a salesman that's on the ball and knows what the fuck they're doing and can monitor things, wants to make a fucking commission or whatever. But in New York and Los Angeles and Chicago, when people are watching Raw, a commercial for that, a documentary on Vince McMahon after all of this year's publicity, Vice, I think, has flummoxed by not getting the word out in time and not targeting the word in the right place, a chance for them to do 1 million views of something on their station, which should be pretty attractive for them for something like that. What do you think, Brian?
I think it's Vice. I mean, I'm not surprised at all. They,
Oh, come on. I've elevated that network.
Yeah, hey, listen, Tales from the Territories.
I'm the Walter Cronkite of Vice. People, I'm the most trusted man in America.
You're certainly the most valuable person they have on their wrestling programs. I will give you that.
The nicest guy in prison is the tone that you just...
Well, look, Tales from the Territories has been a disappointment. Ratings-wise, they had The Rock behind it as production company. They did advertise the shit out of that. It was in the subways, all over the place. And the ratings have been significantly lower than Dark Side of the Ring.
Yes.
And it's been
and to be honest, and I think that it's great. We love those stories. I wish there were a few other people still around in some of the territories that could have told some of them. But it's sort of like the difference in what the modern wrestling fan, the AEW indie-rific kind of fan, they will have a great match and that'll draw the viewers. And the 80s WWF fan, I don't give a shit whether the match is any good or not. I want to see stars. Well, the truth probably lies a little bit in the middle. But with Dark Side of the Ring, they had a name to hang their hat on, or they had an incident that people were intrigued by or interested in. And by the nature of Tales from the Territories, you can't really sell that on that aspect of a star or a tragedy or an incident, because they're all different tales.
You can if you know how to sell it. But again, and I'm not going to go into a whole dissertation on the failures of the promotion and everything with that show and the actual execution, but to go into what we're saying, Dark Side of the Ring is the most popular show in the history of the network.
Right.
Tales from the Territories, even with The Rock and all the publicity, nowhere near that. And it's still, all things considered, even with the shrinking cable universe, it's a small cable network. They don't have, are they going to budget a big promotional campaign? Even if it's just the wrestling sites, are they going to budget that for the Vince McMahon documentary?
Well, I'm not talking about spending $10 million and doing a Super Bowl ad.
But you're talking about a network that doesn't want to spend much. Well,
a lot of stuff.
They're burying a Vince McMahon documentary just in the regular, normal wrestling time slot.
Okay, 6 months of lead, or 6 months, 6 weeks of lead promotion on their own station wouldn't cost them anything. So
That's true.
I'm not saying to spend a ton of money.
Maybe they're being run by Tony Khan. I can't explain why they do things like that.
Get the word out to make sure people know. Get the buzz. The people are buzzing.
Is that the big thing you're still most interested in, though? Vince McMahon's childhood? Out of everything with Vince, that's the thing you're most interested in?
Yes, because I've seen or heard in close proximity to or talked to people who were around at various other points in his life, but I still don't get. I want to see it in linear documented fashion, because then, I mean, that's the way you know that he was formed. I know the major points and what led to all his picadillos, but I just have to see how all this took place.
It will be interesting. I'm one of the people who has pre-ordered the biography, I believe. But Jim, before we get going too much further, I want to ask you about a couple serious topics.
Now, how much new lead time do we get on the biography, the book? Is that going to be? Oh, it's on sale tomorrow. Oh shit! What? Or are they going to promote that son of a gun?
The Abraham Reisman Vince McMahon biography. I pre-ordered it in June, and it's due out in March.
Well, good.
In time for WrestleMania.
Buzzing about
in time for March 28th, 2023. Just in time for WrestleMania.
Oh, me.
The name of the book? Ringmaster, Vince McMahon and the Unmaking of America.
Wow.
That sounds interesting.
It's tantalizing.
There's another book here, but it only has 1 star. The Chronicle of Vince McMahon, The Retirement and Biography. It has 1-star review.
What?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Who wrote this? What?
Some guy. I don't want to malign him here because I don't know anything about this book, but 1 review, 1 star. But you're right. How many other big executives who have this long a run, and especially front and center, right in front of the camera, there's no biographies. There's nothing good. You know, the Sex, Lies, and Headlocks comes up here, the Mike Mooneyham book, but that's a different animal altogether. And Lavi Margolin's book about...
That's not Vince's life from start to... Well, not finish. He's not done with it yet, but Vince's life from... chronologically from start to today has not been done either on video or in written form.